Hi, my name's Jake, proud co-owner of DMW, Independent Volvo Specialists.
Richard Hornibrook, one of the owners and manager.
I am the main mechanic in DMW, qualified to a master technician.
DMW is a Volvo specialist, which has been established since '84.
Proudly open for 40 years and continuing to keep going into the future.
Virtually every mechanic gets a buzz from knowing that you get something that's made of metal, water, different coolants, and you can actually get power out of that when it's up and running. And then when you get one that's come in broken and you can fix it, the buzz you get from it is excitement. DMW was the brainchild of Dean Moadine, my former boss, who set the company up. He was made redundant in the early 80s and decided to set up his own garage and work for himself. Dalton House, this building, was Dalton Weekly, the newspaper. The big print presses were in here. At the front of the building was where the journalists were, and the distribution was the warehouse next door. And when that went under in '83, '84, they converted it into individual units. And Dean just decided to take a chance and go for it.
Dean, the original owner of Dean Motorworks, was working as a Volvo dealer and a Skoda dealer.
He was working for Volvo in Wimbledon as the service manager and general manager.
Then I think things shifted a little bit and he came away to redundancy.
And he thought, I'll take a chance and start my own business here. When Dean originally started, it was just him. And then eventually, as the company got bigger, he got more and more staff. The middle of the 80s in the boom, there was 9 people working here. And at that point, he also set up a dealership for Skoda. I basically came here on a YTS training scheme from the job centre in 1994. It was meant to be for 3 months. Met Dean, he interviewed me, took a chance on me, and stayed here for 9 months, and then had a little bit of a disillusionment with the guy who was directly training me, the senior mechanic. We didn't quite see eye to eye, and I left. Back to the doll, unfortunately. Yeah, I didn't think that far ahead when I was younger. Then after a couple of months, Dean phoned me up and said, would I like to come back? And he would train me personally rather than with this senior mechanic who, unbeknownst to me, had already decided to leave at that point. After I came back for the first couple of weeks, he left, and then it was just me and Dean for about a year and a half. I'd already done half of my apprenticeship without a garage when I joined the YTS scheme. And then when I came here, basically Dean taught me on-the-job training. And I finished off my apprenticeship about 10 years ago when Dean said about time you finished it off, and I actually went back to college as an older student.
I came here to be here for 2 weeks for work experience whilst they filled the gap between main mechanics. And Richard was here with Dean, and then I was trained by them and the other mechanic, Russell. Dean was very quiet for the first 3 years, and I think just let me get on with it to see where I'd land. And Richard sort of just helped guide me through things, explain to me the differences in some working practices that he'd learned. Tried to, I think, build up character, which I think's happened over the years.
Just after COVID, unfortunately, Dean got diagnosed with a brain tumour, and he had to obviously, it was a very trying time for everyone involved.
Dean was having some difficulties with stability, and we ended up getting him to the doctor, and he was diagnosed after testing with a brain tumour.
The diagnosis was terminal, so he decided to passed the business on to Jake and myself. He wanted us to take over.
There was a lot to tie up even in the idea of closing down the business, and would leave Richard and myself in a place of looking for a job to work for someone else, which would have been fine. But the idea came up that we could take on the business from the family because we knew it pretty well with life experience, and to find a way to make it work for us as it had worked for Dean and his family.
Obviously, we then negotiated with Dean and his family before he passed, and we agreed to buy the business. And then Jake and I, because we've both been working for a long time, he just saw us as like his sons, surrogate sons, and he just wanted the business to carry on.
It looked a little different from this because it had, I think, 20 plus years of an older generation of mechanics in who were slightly, I think a lot of grease was used and ended up everywhere. So over the last 15 years, we've tried to remove parts of the garage that maybe felt a bit elderly and past their point of service.
Officially, 2024 was our first year. We took over on January the 1st, was when we were solely responsible and his family had nothing to do with the business. Before that, after Dean's death, there was a 2-year probate period where we was getting everything sorted and getting the legal paperwork all signed off.
After he passed away, we'd already been running the business, I think, for about 2 years without too much input from him, and it felt like we could continue it and maybe improve in our own way and keep going.
The current situation is that obviously we've taken over a lot of the existing customers, go back to when Dean first started, so some of the customers go back 40 odd years, but we get new customers every day.
Also honouring someone who, when we were younger and struggled with our own stuff, was there for us, so a little way of paying it back as well, and being loyal.
I was always taught by Dean that you don't get the wage from the boss, you get the wage from the customer. If the customers keep coming, you'll always have money in your pocket.
I think Dean's always tried to preach is doing an honest job, explaining things clearly, or as clearly as we possibly can, trying to meet the needs of the customer as opposed to the needs of ourselves, leads to us continuing to do a good, solid job.
There's not very many Volvo specialists around, not very many people that understand Volvos. They're very complex now. So we just got a growing base of customers, and we try and do a decent job for a good price. When I first started in the trade, I was a great fan of Jaguars until I worked on Jaguars. Then I realised they're horrible. I hated them. When I started working on Volvo, I realised how much they sort of think about the customer and the technician. It's all sort of in their ethos. They use the best quality nuts, bolts, so even after 20 years you can undo something relatively simple. The technology that they've, one of the founders in the modern style of car, which is CAN bus, which every car now uses. Volvo brought it out in '99, so they were one of the pioneers. They've always been a leading manufacturer for safety. They were the first to invent the 3-point seat belt. They never took the patent out so that everyone could have it. They've invented so many things first, like the side impact safety bars. They were always concerned about the environment and safety, which I appreciate. And they've just been great to work on, really.
When I first came to work here, I wanted to learn to be a mechanic, so I think working on any brand would have been okay. Over the years of understanding how Volvos are put together and the reasoning behind it and the materials used, and then having different experiences undoing and removing parts on other brands of cars, the way that they've been put together is, as a mechanic, is a very good way to remove it and refit parts. They are very reliable cars. My like or passion for them has come through being around them for such a long time and seeing that even the old ones have really withstood the test of time, even down to the structure of the metal inside the bolts that they use. Over the years, I've just come to enjoy working on them. I understand them and how they've been put together.
Amazing manufacturer, just a little bit on the pricey side. The everyday servicing is part of the job, but when the real challenge is when you get a breakdown that no one can fix and you put it right and it starts up for that first time. There's a buzz from it. Every mechanic gets it. You need such a depth of knowledge. Every day there's something new to learn. And I don't think it will ever change in this trade. Really, mechanically and body-wise, they're fantastic now. It's the electronics that are the problem. But they're only a problem when they go wrong. When they drive fine, customers love them. They love all the little gadgets and toys in cars. My favourite thing is heated steering wheel. I love it. But when they go wrong, they go wrong. The Volvo dealers, they have to follow a certain service protocol with Volvo. They have to honour a warranty on cars up to 3 years old. We are completely independent. We choose what cars to work on and if we can work on it. If it's in the customer's best interest to go to a dealer, we'll tell you that. Whereas with the franchise dealer, they are also under a lot of pressure to sell stuff. They have to meet quotas to pay for this fancy showroom, the glass windows that you can look through it and into the workshop. Whereas we try and work with the customer. So that's the main difference. If one of our customers is doing 2,000 miles a year, but they got 3,000 miles left in their pads, we'll advise them to come back in 6 months. Whereas the dealer doesn't look at it that way. They just go, oh, brake pads are almost worn out, need to be fitted now. So we try and work more with the customer, listen more to their personal needs, and if they're on a budget, try and stick within their budget. The dealers love and hate us at the same time. They love that we obviously enthusiastic about the brand and we push the brand and we're keeping the cars on the road, but they see us as a rival. I asked Dean this question about 30 years ago, why he specialised in one make of car rather than doing a general garage. And he said, you can only be a master of one. There are things on Volvo that we know. The only reason we found that is by working on that car and we found a problem and we know that problem. A general garage won't know that.
What we've had to go through in the years since Dean fell ill and taking over the company, I feel like it has strengthened us and matured us without having an extra father figure around. When Dean passed away, we had a triangle or a spearhead, and that we'd kind of lost the spearhead. And I think in the 3 years that we've been forging ourselves together, we've kind of pushed the spearhead back together and are more pointy than we maybe were. I think we combine our years of experience on cars and problem solving to help each other and to help our customers and ourselves get through most problems we come across. There isn't much we turn away.
Dean was a great one for the phrase bounce ideas of each other, and over the years we've come to do that so much now that if one of us is a brain fog, the other will just come and clear the fog for them, and we just work well together through that. Customer loyalty is very important to us. Some of our customers go back 40 years. The trouble when certain garages, other than us, look at a car, they can do what they think is the right thing, but not necessarily do the car the right job. We find most garages try their best, but it's really just a lack of knowledge. It's just the same as if we worked on a Tesla. I have no prior knowledge of a Tesla and it would be a learning curve. I think most garages have no prior knowledge to Volvos or their little secrets that we know, that we've come to work our way through. So, as the boss used to love to say, horses for courses. And customers tend to stay loyal to us, but they do get caught short when we're closed. They go somewhere else and they get caught out. But as I say, most garages try their very best, and I will never knock another garage for trying their best. Biggest problem with other garages is the chain of command, how instructions from the customer are relayed to the mechanic. Sometimes a fault is not communicated properly to the technician to then verify what the actual problem is. Whereas, because there's only two of us, customer tells me what's wrong, I tell Jake, and then Jake's sometimes in the room when we're discussing it with the customer. We really can't muck up what the customer's telling us, because we've had a couple of customers who insist there's a problem. When you test it, you can't hear it yourself or feel the problem, but you know they're not imagining it, and they're not wasting their money coming to us just to see us, which is a shame because we're nice. But I feel some garages have a receptionist who then relay it to a service advisor, who then relays it to the technician, and it gets lost in translation. And that's the biggest problem. Is communication is the key, really. The supply chain with parts has been always a bit troublesome because we specialise in one make. So we're very much dependent on that manufacturer, on their quality of parts and their costing of the parts. We can't really go anywhere else.
Supply chain begins and affects everything in the garage, moving day to day. A change and a shift to more digital ordering, which is in a teething process that isn't yet competing with the original phone call parts man, get the right part with the right part number. That is changing how we're receiving parts. I used to receive 2 deliveries a day, maybe 11 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. It gave me time to fix and diagnose and repair cars with all of the time in the day. At the minute, whilst they're going through the teething, we've seen that maybe a car may stay a day longer than we feel it needs to.
The biggest real problem we're having is they're making certain parts obsolete before we feel the car should be off the road. That creates a backlog, then we have to try and source it from another market. We recently had to get some parts from Greece and Japan, which should be readily available in England, but they've been discontinued. The consumer is the one that suffers at the end of the day.
The future of DMW, I see we continue with our strongest points, which I would say one of our main factors is diagnostics.
Cars now are so hard to diagnose. Other garages are seeking out us to try and diagnose their problems.
Developing and understanding newer systems on cars, and as that's always developing, it seems to be the most exciting point to us. We've come to understand, with experience and time put in with one brand, is the ability to look at it and know whether something is correct or not with the look of an eye, because you're so used to seeing it every day that it becomes natural to you. We've formed a diagnostic process over the years of struggling to solve issues with cars, and we try to stick to that process because it's tried and tested, and when we deviate from the process, it can take a longer time to solve the initial problem. So we believe firmly in the process we have and take it step by step and try not to deviate that course because it can lead you up the garden path.
Electric vehicles are affecting business at the present because there are so many hybrids. But we're learning on these cars, we learn every day, and they're really a basic electrical system, so we're getting to grips with them quite well. The biggest problem really is the manufacturer's not releasing the information we need. The business's direction and future really relies on whether we have to move from here in a few years. The building has a certain shelf life, and we have been told that there may be a possibility we have to move and redevelop.
Acquire a new premises that we would like to continue running as the same company, and to move forwards possibly with most of the customer base we have. Our aim is to keep everyone we have as customers happy for the next few years that we're in this business, and to encourage them to come to us where we're going to change to in the future, which we are aware location is important, and keeping the running costs of the garage as low as we can so that we can continue to be competitive with pricing.
Cars are also becoming bigger, wider, so we need to obviously allow for a premises where we can do that. We want to stay in South London, where we have been established for 40 years. Basically, we are the first go-to for most people in this part of the world with their Volvo, and we would like to stay that way.
I think it is important that we thank our loyal and returning customers for the many years of support they've given us through ups, downs, goods and bads. They've kept our business stable.
I also like to thank our suppliers who, when Dean's illness really struck and things were frozen, pulled magic for us by keeping us going without demanding too much of us, and really helping out in that situation.
The support we've had from our suppliers over the past 40 years, but mainly in the time that myself or Richard has been here, has been unrivaled generally, and we would be afraid to lose some of our suppliers because of what the effort they put in to get things to us when no one else will. The customers that keep returning, our main goal is to keep them happy and to retain them as our customers so that we can be open next year and the year after. And for the foreseeable, we feel that we can depend on those customers returning to us for the value we're trying to provide to them. We feel that that's recognised, and we're grateful and sometimes surprised by the understanding and support we have from generally our customers and our suppliers. So thank you from both of us for that.
I would also like to offer our thanks to the customers who've been coming for over 40 years, to the new customers who've just found us. One of the most common things people say is, we wish we'd known about you sooner. The customers' loyalty is always appreciated. Some of our customers, their grown-up children are now coming to us that we used to see as babies. Our goal is to be around long enough to see their grandkids come to us. And really, without those people, as Dean always used to say, they pay our wages and we wouldn't have been able to survive. And if they can keep us going, we'll keep their cars going and try and just keep this part of the world a Volvo heaven.